You're listening to Mr. Thursday Night. Now here's Brett Gombita.
I've never dealt with a tie before on this show, but after last week, I'm 2-1-1 now. How's it going, everyone? I'm Brett Gombita, episode 3 of Mr. Thursday Night 2025. It's preseason week 3. We've got Steelers at Panthers, Patriots at Giants. But first, we're going to take it back to 2 weeks ago, as there was no episode last week. Recap the triple header. The Ravens taking down the Colts 24-16. Briefly kept my undefeated season alive until about a half an hour later when the Eagles defeated the Bengals 34-27. I had the Bengals in this one. Big game from Tanner McKee. We'll get to him in a minute. And then the tie. 23-23, Raiders and Seahawks draw. I thought I was going to lose back-to-back games until a late Raiders touchdown and field goal. The Raiders were my pick in this game. No preseason overtime. We did have another tie in preseason week 2, actually, between the Jaguars and Saints. So with the no overtime, it's possible to see some ties here in the preseason. I'm not going to go out and predict one, but wouldn't be surprised if one happens this week, too. If you picked up on it a minute ago, the Mr. Thursday Night Player of the Week is going to quarterback Tanner McKee. 20 for 25, 252 yards, 2 touchdowns, a rushing touchdown. Bengals starters, no problem for Tanner McKee. Joe Burrow leads a touchdown drive. Immediately after that, Tanner McKee leads a touchdown drive of his own. Philly put up 34 points in this game. 27 of them were from drives that McKee started. And I do want to give some honorable mentions for this week's Thursday Night Player of the Week. Keaton Mitchell and Rasheen Ali made my decision complicated. These guys had immense success running the ball against the Indianapolis Colts. Rasheen Ali busted off a big kick return as well. And then Seahawks running back George Holani going against Ashton Jeanty, former college teammate in the same position room at running back. Holani was averaging almost 9 a carry in this game. Jeanty finished with negative yards. Though his O-line played a factor into that, they weren't blocking for him too well. But just wanted to give a shout out to George Holani, the second-string running back last year at Boise State, who put up some big numbers in that preseason game 2 weeks ago. So I win the Hall of Fame game with the Chargers. Then I go 1-1-1. The Ravens being my one win. The Eagles handing me my loss as I picked the Bengals. And then the Raiders and Seahawks with the tie. This week, Steelers-Panthers, Giants-Patriots. We're going to get into recapping their off seasons, looking at their drafts, and then talking about some local connections like we always do. You know how it works here on Mr. Thursday Night. Unless you're a first-time listener, I don't know. Stay tuned if you are. And we'll start right in Pittsburgh, looking at their draft. Derek Harmon in the first round, 21st overall. Defensive tackle out of Oregon. He could be Cam Hayward's replacement here. Next couple of years, Cam Hayward not getting any younger. It's good for the Steelers to address that defensive line, as that issue was prevalent all last season, especially in the wild card game. I've seen the clip a million times on my feed of Derrick Henry running right up the middle past everyone. They need some interior run stoppers, and Harmon's going to be a guy that can do just that. They get Caleb Johnson with their next pick. No second-round pick, as that was gone in the DK Metcalf trade. Caleb Johnson is probably the best pass-blocking running back in this draft. And we all know Aaron Rodgers isn't going anywhere. He's going to need all the protection he gets if he takes some extended time in the pocket, so it's good to have a guy like Johnson back there. And I see him splitting the carries 50-50 with Warren to start the season, similar to how Najee and Warren were the past couple of years. Steelers get Jack Sawyer in the 4th round, the edge rusher out of Ohio State, going to back up Watt and Highsmith this season. Steelers are hoping he can evolve into a backup they trust, especially with how Watt and Highsmith have sustained some injuries here in the last couple of years. Herbig's going to play a big role into backing those guys up as well. So it's good to get another guy in there that you can trust, hopefully. Hopefully Sawyer develops into a good ball player for that club. Some other picks as well. this guy's been really the talk of camp. Yaya Black, defensive tackle out of Iowa. They're saying he's leading the Steelers in passes batted down at the line here in training camp. Say he's making a big impact in that aspect. That's good to hear, especially for a late-round guy trying to make the team there. Speaking of a guy that might not make the team, quarterback Will Howard out of Ohio State, who the Steelers drafted this year, injured a finger. He's not getting any chance now in the preseason as the injury has put him out for all of the preseason. Not getting a chance to put anything on film. Might end up being reverted to the practice squad, maybe cut, because Skylar Thompson has looked pretty good in the preseason. Could be the Steelers' QB3. Steelers also end up drafting Carson Bruner. Father Mark played for the Steelers as a tight end back in the day, and then defensive back Dante Kent out of Central Michigan. This is a totally transformed Steelers team. In free agency, they get Aaron Rodgers late, obviously. End up bringing in Jonnu Smith via a trade, DK Metcalf via a trade, Juan Thornhill now here, Jalen Ramsey as well as a part of that Jonnu Smith trade. But they lost just as many key guys, and most of them are at the same positions as the guys they brought in. You get Rodgers, you lose Wilson, you lose Fields. You get Metcalf, you lose Pickens. The Steelers also lost Minka in the Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith trade. They lose Najee to free agency. Landon Roberts leaves. This is actually the only team in Steelers history to lose their leading passer, leading rusher, and leading receiver all in the same offseason. The franchise hasn't been able to get over the hump in recent years and win that playoff game, advance in the playoffs. They didn't make any changes at all to the coaching staff this offseason, other than not renewing the contract of Mike Sullivan. That's it. I think if this operation that's taking place this year is a big failure, you got to start looking towards the coaches too. Now we shift focus towards the Carolina Panthers. What did they do in the offseason and in the draft? They get Ted McMillan round 1 out of Arizona. Somewhat of a surprise. People thought Carolina would go defense, but they get a very talented receiver for Bryce Young. As Xavier Legette last year didn't have the greatest rookie season, Adam Thielen isn't getting any younger either. McMillan's going to have a big role as a rookie here on this team. And with them not going defense in the first round, they go defense in round 2 and round 3. 2 edge rushers, Nick Scorton and Princely Umanmielen. Couple of edge rushers there, as we mentioned. They traded up to draft Scorton. He actually suffered a lung collapse in the joint practice against the Texans, but is back on the field, so good thing he's okay. Good thing that was nothing major there. A couple of other picks later on in the draft. Trevor Etienne, brother of Travis, also a running back out of Georgia. He might see the field a little bit this year. Lathan Ransom, a safety out of Ohio State. Nose tackle Cam Jackson from Florida. Mitchell Evans from Notre Dame, tight end. And wide receiver Jimmy Horn from Colorado. Big signings include strong safety Trayvon Moehrig, who's probably going to start this year. Then they beef up that D-line, Tershawn Wharton and Bobby Brown III, both signing in Carolina. And then running back Rico Dowdle, probably going to back up Chuba Hubbard alongside Trevor Etienne there. Now let's talk about Bryce Young for a minute. Is he going to make the leap this year? You look at the last 3 games of last season, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions for Bryce Young. Head coach Canals is back for year 2. Maybe him and Bryce Young have established a connection over the offseason. It's going to be their second year of work together. New number 1 weapon in Ted McMillan. I don't think Bryce Young's ever going to be a star or even a top 10 quarterback in the league, but I wouldn't label him as a bust just yet, and I don't think he'll be labeled as a bust in his career. I could see him putting up league average numbers this year, and I don't think Carolina's going to go anywhere because they've got other problems they need to address. I don't think Bryce Young's going to be their biggest concern, though. I think they'll try to build around him. And we now move to the Patriots, looking at their draft first. Will Campbell, 4th overall. They needed someone to protect May's blindside. They got just that. Campbell, the first offensive lineman off the board in this year's draft. If you're a Patriots fan, you're hoping the guy's going to be here for the next decade protecting QBs. Then in round 2, this one kind of puzzles me. Travion Henderson. He's a really good running back, ran for over 1,000 last year at Ohio State. But was running back really a position of need? Or do we need to be drafting running backs this high? Ramondre Stevenson on the roster. Antonio Gibson has proved that he can catch passes out of the backfield. Henderson's probably going to play a decent chunk of snaps too day one. So they might look to trade Gibson. But I've always bought into the stock of don't draft a running back super high. So this one just doesn't sit right with me. Kyle Williams, though, in the third round, receiver out of Wazoo. Jalen Polk last year in the second round didn't really pan out. He might even get cut, per some rumors on Twitter. Stephon Diggs is your one. They brought in Mac Hollins as well. Kayshon Bouttie's still on the team. I'm sure Kyle Williams will find his way in there somewhere, whereas it looks like guys like Javon Baker and Jalen Polk might be on their way out. Rest of the Patriots draft, they get center Jared Wilson from Georgia, safety Craig Woodson from California, defensive tackle Joshua Farmer from Florida State, edge rusher Braden Swinson of LSU, kicker Andy Borregales from the U, offensive tackle Marcus Bryant from Mizzou, long snapper Julian Ashby from Vanderbilt, and then this year's Mr. Irrelevant, Kobe Minor, defensive back from Memphis. Keep tabs on him just in case. They get Stephon Diggs and Mac Hollins in free agency, as we mentioned. And then Mike Vrabel brings in a couple of linebackers that he has ties with dating back to the Tennessee Titans days. Harold Landry and Robert Spillane, who began his career as a Titan. Patriots also get Carlton Davis, big defensive back, signing there. Offensive tackle Morgan Moses, who will probably start day one at right tackle. And then Milton Williams, defensive tackle, who is now the highest paid Patriot after winning the Super Bowl with the Eagles this past year. And that's kind of crazy to think about because last year Williams really only played like half the snaps on a regular basis, just rotating in there with Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, the rest of the D tackles in Philly. So to see him get over $100 million possibly on this contract, New England had money to spend and they're investing it in Milton Williams. And then the Giants, let's look at their offseason. One pick before the Patriots took Will Campbell, the Giants took edge rusher Abdul Carter from Penn State, the first real defensive player off the board. I say that because Travis Hunter was number 2. While edge rusher might not have been the biggest need for the Giants, you can't pass on a guy like Abdul Carter at number 3. Some evaluators of talent had Abdul Carter as their number 1 player in this draft. So you just can't pass up that talent at that kind of spot. And they're going to work in a way for him to play, whether that be having Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Carter all on the field at the same time. We'll see how it works. I'm actually kind of excited this year to see the Giants' defense, which is looking much improved, at least on paper. With their second first-round pick at pick 25, they get Jackson Dart from Ole Miss, the second quarterback off the board. Brian Dable has confirmed Russell Wilson as the starting quarterback multiple times, so it looks like it's going to be a developmental year for Jackson Dart, unless any injuries occur. But we'll see him tonight, and he's looked pretty good so far in the preseason. Third round, the Giants get Darius Alexander, defensive tackle out of Toledo. So there you go right there. 2 of the first 3 picks were on the front 7. Alexander's a great run stopper. That's something the Giants have struggled to do here in recent years. Next pick, they go Cam Skattebo, who has a chance to get some carries day one. Absolute workhorse at Arizona State. They get guard Marcus Bowe from Purdue, tight end Thomas Fedone from Nebraska, and defensive back Corey Black from Oklahoma State to round out their draft. Chauncey Golston, a big defensive end signing there. Once again, more bodies up front. Giants went defense heavy here in the offseason, including on the backside as well. Javon Holland and Paulson Adebo, secondary improvements there. They let Xavier McKinney walk. He became a Pro Bowler with the Packers this past year, just 1 year after leaving the Giants. Now they go out and spend some money on Holland, looking to be that guy that can replace what McKinney was able to do back there. Don't be surprised if the Giants steal a couple games this year that people don't think they're capable of winning. We're almost to the pick'em portion. Real quick, though, it wouldn't be an episode without talking about the guys with the local ties. Who are the players in action tonight that have some sort of local connection to Western Pennsylvania. Well, the Steelers are playing tonight, so we're just going to completely ignore their roster because they are Western Pennsylvania. We'll look at the Carolina Panthers. They got Patrick Jones II, linebacker who played his college days at Pitt. Safety Nick Scott from Penn State won a Super Bowl 4 years ago now with the Rams. And they got kicker Matthew Wright, who's had multiple stints as a Pittsburgh Steeler. He's also a Super Bowl champion as he filled in for Harrison Butker a couple of times during the Chiefs' Super Bowl run in 2022. The Patriots have Caden Wallace, offensive tackle from Penn State, and then a pair of former Steelers, quarterback Joshua Dobbs and linebacker Robert Spillane. The Giants have center Jimmy Morrissey from Pitt, and then a couple of Penn State guys, Abdul Carter, obviously, who they just drafted. Tight end Theo Johnson. And then I know it's not Western Pennsylvania technically, but what about a shout out to the Ivy League? Greg Van Roten from UPenn. Then a couple of former Steelers that, well, I'm sure a lot of the Steelers fans would like to forget this one. Gunnar Olszewski, Russell Wilson too. And then this one is forgettable because he carried the ball maybe 5 times as a Steeler. Jonathan Ward, running back, now on the Giants. So there's your local ties. How about we get into these picks, starting with Pittsburgh, Carolina. The quarterback matchup in this game, under center for the Steelers, you're going to see Mason Rudolph, Skylar Thompson. Might see some Logan Woodside. For Carolina, Andy Dalton is questionable. Could be a lot of Jack Plummer and Bryce Perkins if Dalton does not go in this game. Perkins was just signed the other day. Won MVP of the USFL. Something to keep an eye on. Perkins, this could be his opportunity to get back into the NFL. He was a backup in LA before he was out of the league and in the USFL. Something to keep an eye on there. Mike Tomlin, 41-28 in the preseason in his career. This year the Steelers are 1-1. A win 31-25 over the Jaguars. A 17-14 loss most recently to the Buccaneers. And then Dave Canals, 1-4 all-time in the preseason, 0-2 this year. A couple of big losses, 30-10 against the Browns and 20-3 against the Texans. Carolina is not playing their starters in this game per sources. The Steelers, they're playing all but 4 starters. The ones that aren't playing, Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf, TJ Watt, and Cam Hayward. Despite that, the Steelers are still 5.5-point favorites. Over-under in this game, 35.5. I'm going to take the Steelers 23-13. Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson have looked pretty good this preseason, and the Steelers' defense last week didn't allow a single touchdown in the last 3 quarters against the Buccaneers. I think the momentum carries over, and the Steelers close out the preseason on a high note, and the Panthers finish the preseason winless. Now moving on to the Patriots-Giants. Neither team has really revealed their plans on starters or no starters, at least at the time of recording. So we could see Drake May tonight. We're most likely going to see Josh Dobbs and Ben Woolridge. We don't know if we're going to see Russell Wilson tonight, but we can expect a heavy dosage of Jackson Dart and then maybe some Jameis Winston and Tommy DeVito as well. Both of these teams are undefeated this year in the preseason. Mike Vrabel all-time, 10-9 as a head coach in the preseason. Brian Dable, 6-5. Over-under in this game is 37.5. Giants are 6-point favorites. I'm going to take the Giants, 20-17. I think the Giants end up being the team that completes the preseason undefeated. I think there's a big QB drop-off after Drake May on the Patriots side, whereas you look at the Giants, you're going to get probably the same production from Russ, Dart, Winston, DeVito, no matter which one it is. And then sometimes it's just as simple as the Giants have home field advantage in this one. Maybe I'll go 2-0 this week. Last week I went 1-1-1. Looking to improve my preseason record here in the preseason finale. We're off next week, as there's a week in between the regular season and the end of the preseason. So I hope to catch you guys then here on Mr. Thursday Night. This has been Brett Gombita, and I'll see you guys soon.